There is a quite remarkable picture in the Times today. It's of the Holocaust survivor Eva Kor hugging the former Nazi Oskar Gröning as he stands in the dock accused of complicity to murder 300,000 people. She had travelled to Lüneburg in Germany from the United States to testify against him and tell the court how she and her twin sister had been experimented on by Joseph Mengele when they were in Auschwitz. Well, Eva Kor joins us now from Lüneburg. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Did you mean to end up hugging Oskar Gröning in the court on Wednesday?
No, not really. I was always interested in meeting him face to face because I believe that there is a human interaction that I cannot predict and no one else can predict. I did want to tell him that I was there to testify and also to thank him for having some human decency in accepting responsibility for what he has done. And in particular purpose, what I think every person doing something in these complicated issues of Nazis and their crimes should have a particular purpose in doing so. He's 93 years old. Putting him in jail, that's absurd. But he can do some good in trying to tell the neo-Nazis and the extremists that these kind of organizations as Nazis or Nazi regime governments do not work for anybody, not for the Nazis, not for the Germans, and of course not for the victims. And for that, I ask him to particularly make statements in addressing the young neo-Nazis, as well as it would be very helpful if his fellow Nazis who are still alive made statements. They don't need to appear in court, but they can make statements notarized by attorneys that they have been part of the regime, that it happened and it is a disaster for every human being.
When you read about what happened to you and your sister, because you lost your parents and your older sisters, but because you were a twin, you were singled out by Joseph Mengele for experiments, weren't you?
Correct. And that didn't mean that the person was assured life. It meant that you were not immediately taken to the gas chamber, because Mengele has used 1,500 sets of twins in his experiments. The estimated number of survivors is between 180 and 250 individuals. I myself was injected with a deadly germ. Mengele stood by my bed and was laughing sarcastically after he looked at my fever chart that I had only 2 weeks to live. And for the following 2 weeks, I have only one single memory. I remember crawling on the barrack floor to reach a faucet with water at the other end of the barrack because this barrack was not even allocated water. And as I was crawling and fading in and out of consciousness, I kept telling myself I must survive, and I did.
And it was critical in one sense, not least for your sister, that you survived, because without you and the pair of twins, you would have been useless to Mengele.
Well, that is what I understand, but also, would I have died, she would have been killed immediately, and the Mengele would have done the comparative autopsies. So I spoiled the experiment. I survived.
And that is, since then, you have talked of forgiving the Nazis, and many people have found that very hard and criticised you for that.
Not only hard and criticized, they called me a traitor. And when I talked to survivors, and I said, why on earth does my forgiveness hurt you? And they have no answers. I guess victims like to have more victims. The bigger the crowd, the better. I don't understand it. I found forgiveness has zero to do with the perpetrator. If they benefit from it, so be it. But the victims, 70 years after liberation, I was in Auschwitz with 300 other survivors, and they were all talking about their experiments and falling apart. Poor me, what they have done to me. Well, I don't forget what was done to me, But I am not a poor person. I am a victorious human being who has been able to rise above the pain, forgive the Nazis, not because they deserve it, but because I deserve it. And as long as we understand my forgiveness, that the victim has the right to be free, and you cannot be free from what was done to you unless you remove it from your shoulder as a daily burden of pain and anger.